was a while ago.
I know, I thought it was. Hello, everyone. Right, we've got loads to get through today. There's loads of people already sitting in the chat. We're going to go through that in a moment. But first of all, we'll go through who is in the Hangout. So we have the lovely Pink.
Hey, guys.
We've got Phil. I forgot his name.
Hello.
I didn't know whether to call you the Beard or Phil. We just went with Phil. And then we've got the wonderful Michelangelo.
I don't think we have.
Has he gone again? Oh, God.
It's just a black square like Michelangelo was.
Right, Mike has had internet issues for the last few days, so he's been sitting in chat with us for the past 8 hours on and off, and now he's disappeared just as we go live again. Right, if he pops back up again, Mike is with us at some point anyway. So we'll go through who is in the chat first of all. We've got Adrian, we've got Oric Loveguard, Tabletop War James, Shawn Dewitt, UK Pagan, Dark Elf Dave, Vengeful Jan, James Westwood, Ralph Hummel, Clinton Liam, loads. Big Mac Danscore, Jim Wilson, Al Woods, loads of people. Okay, so what are we talking about today, Phil? What are our main topics? Our main topics are Age of Sigmar, first of all, aren't they?
Yes, and that came back through one of the chats, didn't it? I think both one of the conversations on the Facebook community page, and I think also a comment on one of the battle reports as well, wasn't it? So asking us if we could cover some of the basics of getting into AoS from a building an army battle point of view, a battle structure.
Yeah, it was mainly the question on pitched battles. So for forming a match play pitched battle army, how do you go about doing it? Because obviously you can, if you pick order as a whole. Did you just read that? Mike reminds me of Silent Bob as well.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? He is. That's his new nickname, Silent Bob.
Silent Bob Mike.
What was I saying? Yeah, so if you pick order, if you want to play order as a whole, and you want to mix high elves, dark elves, there he goes, he's gone. It's disappeared now.
It's gone.
So high elves, dark elves, Seraphon, and Dwarden all together in one army list, you can do that with order. And the way that I would recommend checking this out, I mean, you can obviously go on all of the PDFs from Games Workshop's website, but if you go on scrollbuilder.com, you can have a look. If you click on the order section and go to the units that are available, say I'm on Seraphon at the moment, and for Seraphon it says Saurus Warriors, they're a battle line unit, and Saurus Knights, they're a Seraphon battle line unit. So a lot of people are getting mixed up with this on whether they can take it or whether they can't, but the idea is if you take a Seraphon only army, so everything in your army consists of stuff from Seraphon, the units that say Seraphon battle line are the ones that you can also take to class as your battle line units. If you wanted to mix your army between Seraphon, Dwarden, and anything else in the Order faction or Grand Alliance, you can only pick the ones that say battle line. So for Seraphon, that would be Saurus Warriors and Skinks. If I go to, let's have a look. What have we got? Dispossessed, I think the dwarves are called. So for those guys, you've got Longbeards and Warriors to choose as battle line, but they have no specifics for their army either. So you can mix up your entire army between all the different factions in order, or you can choose the more specific allegiance abilities. What have you done, Pink? Because you've got Khorne Bloodbound, haven't you? So you can choose from Chaos as a whole, or you can choose from the Khorne Bloodbound.
Yeah, so at the moment I run Blood Reavers and Bloodletters, which are both battle line anyways. When I get to the larger point games, if I don't want to be taking tons and tons of the same thing, because if I keep Khorne Mortal and my general is a Khorne Lord and a Juggernaut, I can actually also take Mighty Skull Crushers as battle line, which is quite nice. So it just gives you the options for doing whatever you want. But obviously the more specific you go, the more options you have available for your battle line, which is quite a nice sort of benefit.
Mm-hmm. And you also, for the newer books, you get the extra allegiance, artifacts, and command traits. So if you pick Seraphon, if you pick Bloodbound, haven't you got the extra artifacts that are only available to Bloodbound? Or is that not in your book?
Now this becomes quite interesting, because if you use the Age of Sigmar app, what it suggests is as soon as you become Khorne Allegiance, you can only use the Khorne traits. So if you want to, I can still go Chaos Allegiance abilities, as a Grand Alliance, take their allegiance abilities and get their artifacts. But as soon as I go Khorne, I can't mix and match between the two different things. So I can't pick, say, a Chaos Grand Alliance command ability and then pick an artifact from the Khorne book. You've kind of got to stick with one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you sort of think a bit more and perhaps a bit more tactical about what you pick.
So they're the two main options for building an army. You either go with the generalized Grand Alliance and you're limited to your battle line units, but you've got a whole load of choice for everything else that you want to pick, or you go for your unique allegiance and you're limited in terms of only picking from that army, but you've got a lot more choice available for your battle line, and then you can maybe spend more points in the more specialized units. I know Mike's not here, but he wanted to talk about his Storm Fiend army. And I think he has to pick... let's have a look, actually, before I get this wrong. So Skaven... Go on.
I was going to say, while you look it up, shall I just... there's a couple of comments on there. Ralph was saying an alternative would be to get the Order book, and I think you covered that, didn't you? The Order faction books have the rules in, but they don't necessarily... And as Ralph goes on to say, they don't... they've got all the war scrolls in, but they're not necessarily updated. And that's the issue, and you don't get some of those special rules in those order books, do you? Some of the special items and things.
Yeah.
And then Auric Love God has said they will probably do this for 40k 8 Fed as well, which I think, yes, we'll definitely be seeing this kind of the structure.
Well, I'm not sure, but I'm sure I read somewhere or heard it on a podcast somewhere that scrollbuilder.com, whoever creates that, is in talks with Games Workshop to either work with them to going forwards, or whether Games Workshop are just going to take it off them and adapt it to work for Games Workshop, because scrollbuilder.com is the easiest way to build an army list. I think it's very much like you've got Quartermaster and the other apps that have been available in the past, but this is just for Age of Sigmar. So I think going forwards it's a good layout to go with, and I think Games Workshop have spotted that, and if they can adapt on it, it'll be great.
I think Games Workshop actually announced it on the community side, saying great news, we're going to be working with him. I think
might have been where I saw it then.
Yeah.
So what? Go on.
I was going to say one other point to mention, of course, everything we're talking about is actually pitched battles, which is only a subsection of match play. And we were just chatting about this before we came online. The idea of pitched battles which have these limitations of battle line and all the rest, is only in their mind to be used for pickup games, essentially at a store or at a club or within a tournament. So you can use the point system without using the limitation of battle line and all the rest. But as you said, Sam, that's never going to happen.
Not for certain people. I'll play narrative no, I won't. I'll say I'm going to play narrative, but I won't.
After that game with Rachel definitely needs pitch battle limitations. Definitely.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if she had absolute say over everything she fielded?
I don't want to even think about this battle report. I think it's out on Sunday, isn't it? Come in.
Yes, I think so.
And Rachel tried a Death Star in Age of Sigmar, but obviously with all of the units not in the same unit, which we're going to go into on 40k in a moment. But Rachel tried to attempt a Death Star in Age of Sigmar, and it was just impossible to work out. It was impossible to edit, let alone play, and I imagine very difficult to play against, Phil.
Yes.
So that will be an interesting one. And I took a 3-hour video battle report and managed to get it into about an hour and a quarter, which I think was unreal, the amount of editing and cuts that needed to be done on that, but it was done. We'll see how that pans out on Sunday. Anyway, before we go on to the next bit, I just want to go over what Mike was going to talk about with his chaos. So he loves what they call the Storm Fiends. So they only count as battle line if he goes with the Skyer for allegiance, which means he has to take everything from Skyer. So it basically limits his options. So the only stuff he can have in his army are Acolytes, Storm Fiends, the weapon teams, 2 of the weapon teams, and the Jezreels and the Doomflayer stuff. So it's pretty much all of their weapon teams and the Storm Fiends. And then for the heroes, it limits him to a Warlock and a Warlock Engineer. So he's very limited on leader choices and his other units. However, if he's playing a 1,000-point game and he's got 9 Storm Fiends, that would form his, or 6 Storm Fiends, that would form his battle line. Then he could take something else really nasty, really powerful. It just allows you to take the unique units that you want. So sometimes being restricted, it's good.
Can't he?
It can what?
You can still take Thankwell, can't he? Because I think he's Skyer.
Yeah, he's classed as a behemoth as well, I think. So where is he? Thankwell, Master Clan. That's interesting. Master Clan unique behemoth. So I don't think he would. He's not classed as Skyer.
Oh wow, that's quite interesting because I think he's actually like the Arc Wizard. Well,
maybe that could. I mean, this is where you'd have to cross-reference some of it with like the Chaos Allegiance book and see what it actually says in there. But generally, Scroll Builder's pretty spot on. So, I mean, that's interesting. If anybody in the chat or if you're watching this back, let us know how you build your army list, because I think that's something that we're going to talk about in future as well, because Pink has got his own way, I've got my own way, and I think everybody's got their own way. So let us know how you build your army list, whether you use a website, whether you use an app, whether you use pen and paper, whatever, and we'll see what the general consensus is. We've got Frost and Fifths join in. Welcome. Mythos. I imagine it's Mythos. So that is the first part of Age of Sigmar. Right, the next topic, what did we go on to next? Let's get straight on to 8th edition updates. And we'll do it in the reverse order as we usually do on these. And I think that was Weapons Part 2, which was announced today.
Yes. Yeah. Pink, do you want to cover this? Or Sam, have you got this in front of you?
Pink can go for it if you want.
So the one that I'm aware about is that they've saying that everything that's now twin linked, rather than giving you rerolls, is actually just going to get double the number of shots, which is going to be brutal on a Land Raider, on a Dakar Jet, anything like that, where every single weapon is doubled. Because I mean, obviously before it meant your shots were reliable, but even better than that is the chance that now you could hit twice as many. So you can see those units get a bit of a buff, but of course it depends how points move on everything as well.
Yeah, I mean, twin linked always felt a little bit hit and miss sometimes for me, because a lot of the time with a twin link weapon you would hit first time, and you just think, well, that was a waste. Why did I bother having a twin link weapon? And that would happen. You'd miss everything else. So if you just didn't have twin linked, you'd miss it. As soon as you had a twin link weapon, oh yeah, hit them straight away. What was the point? So now I think you're going to feel that reward.
I couldn't get a reroll to work for anything. You would always, if you miss the first one, you're going to miss the reroll.
But I think this is all of weaponry, all of units in 8th edition seem to be incredible. Everything's being bumped up. It's not just it's not just twin link weapons, it's not just monsters or infantry. Everything's getting bumped up. So I think it's quite interesting. Was that a pun, Sam? James said. What did I say? I have a very bad track record of saying things and not realising what I've done, James. So maybe. We've got Tedious Payload saying he uses the Force to create his lists, which is fair enough. The Ice Chief, hey everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining. Ralph Hummel's put clicking my way through the GW site War Scrolls and an Excel sheet. Yep, that's another good one. Mr. Kragan Gaming has joined us as well. So Tedious Payload, wonder how psychic powers will still give twin linked or double shots to units. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Give a unit double the amount of shots from a psychic power. I think we're going to see a lot of psychic stuff influencing games. I think
it's going to be bonuses to hit. Surely it's going to be +1 to hit, etc. I mean that. There's another thing, isn't there, about making twin link what it is? It's essentially the removal of rerolls. That's what they're trying to do, because it's one roll now. You roll to hit, you roll to wound. You're not picking dice up and then rolling them again. And so far, we've not seen any mechanic which allows for rerolls. So that's the thing for me. You know, when you're flying around with Eldar with twin link weapons everywhere, and you were just picking up your dice and rolling. Oh, back. Hey, Mike.
Hello. Am I working?
Yay.
I don't know how long it's going to last.
That's fine. It's just good to have you here, Mike. You've already enhanced the chat. Thank you for joining.
Sweet.
What was I about to say? Oh, yeah, twin linked. So you're saying they're getting rid of rerolls. I think that's because a lot of abilities will give you rerolls. So twin linked will be a bit useless if you're rerolling for that ability. And then I think you're going to see people like captains and chaplains and stuff buffing units with rerolls, so they don't want to keep doing that as many times as possible, really.
True.
We've got some more stuff in the chat. That Lola.
You guys hear my dog? Yeah. She's telling something off.
That's fine. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So Mr. Bone is saying, I've got a question. Are you allowed to stack Mystic Shield on one unit? This is where I'm getting into a conflict with my friends. It's in the General's Handbook, you've got the rule of one, so you can only cast it once, but we generally don't.
In a pitch battle.
Yeah. I've never cast it more than once, but I don't know if different wizards can cast things over and over. Pink, what is it?
Yeah, it did used to actually stack in the old way of the rules. So if you're not playing with the pitched battle restrictions, then yeah, you can cast it multiple times. But with, like Phil said, with the new rule of one, you can only actually attempt to cast it once. What it also means is if you attempt to cast it and you fail it, you can't even try to cast it with another wizard. You've had that shot, it's gone. Yeah. So it's just one thing to consider.
Yeah, and the fact you can't cast it more than once definitely means you can't give it to somebody more than once. So it was a really simple set of rules, the rule of one that took care of everything. It's like Asimov's law of robotics.
So does this only apply when you're doing points games then?
Pitch battles within points games, which I think I keep making that point because I think it's relevant, but I should shut up because I don't think there's anybody out there playing points games without also applying the pitch battle rules. I doubt it.
Well, it's the options there. You can play it however you want, but I think if you turn up at an event or a shop or wherever and you say, I want to play this game with these rules, you've already got a base point to start from for playing a game. You're not having to make up your own rules. You can just pick a set and go with it. Frost and Fist, so Mythos says, shooting has gotten so many buffs so far, I'm really worried that I'm just going to be obliterated before I get close enough to hit. I don't know. I think they'll have play tested this to the point where as soon as you hit combat, you will be removing units. It will be getting there.
Fast. Yeah, he doesn't know how fast Space Wolves are yet. And that will be the interesting thing. They may have some super fast units.
Nathan Anderson's... Oh no, we've got one above Wesley Gar. After they said close combat is going to be good and then the shooting becomes even more brutal, isn't it no difference with 7th edition, aka the shooting edition? I think they're balancing it. I think we'll see a mix between shooting and combat. And if they go too much on shooting or too much on combat, I think it will get an edition name anyway. It'll either be the close combat edition or the shooting edition. I think they're going to do their best to balance it, but we're going to have to see how it goes and maybe not worry about it too much at the moment. Nathan Anderson's put, it seems like 8th edition is going to seriously need I roll 30 dice, nothing happens. I doubt it. I think there's going to be a lot happening. I think it'll be I roll 30 dice, right, everything's dead. Now you kill everything on your side.
I'm worried that that's going to be true, that you're going to say, I put out my army and turn one, you're putting all your models back again. I'm like, I spent hours painting these and now I'm just putting them straight back in.
Yeah. Well, again, and they've balanced that by saying they're trying not to have stuff removed in one turn. So it's a mixed signal, isn't it? They want the bigger monsters and the tanks and things to be able to survive one hit. However, they've also said things are going to die very quickly. So we're going to have to see how much it balances between those two statements. What else have we got? Solvent Abuse UK has joined. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the chat. Ralph Hummel, rule of one only applies to pitch battle and you can even opt not to apply. Yeah, that's what Phil was saying. You have the choice over your games, what you want to do. C. Mawson, almost forgot about the live chat. I think it's great you folks do these regularly. Yes, we try to do them as often as possible and it's great when everybody joins as well. So thank you to everyone who is joining in, jumping in the chat, thumbing up the video and regularly coming back for a chat. The Iceny Chief Vulture gunship is going to be amazing with the new twin linked rules. 40 Punisher shots. Wow. Yeah.
Jack's got 2 of those. I'm really looking forward to that game.
2 of them at the moment. Soon to be 4.
Yeah. Where can you find the rule? Rule of one was in one question. If you have the handbook, it's literally on the first page describing pitch battles. If you have the printed version, that's page 106.
Oracle of God said they haven't said, but will there be initiative rolls between turns? I haven't seen anything on that yet. Whether it's going to be you go, I go, or it'll be similar to Age of Sigmar, where you roll off for initiative after the first turn. That will be one for a daily update, I think. But we've seen how it works in Age of Sigmar, so I wouldn't mind either way, to be honest. I actually prefer the Age of Sigmar reaction tactics to seeing who gets the next turn.
I think it's quite fun and quite thematic, but at the same time, with a shooting game, a long-range game, I wonder whether it could just result in too much devastation to the other side. Like, if they get a double turn, is that something you just couldn't come back from in 40k?
But that happens. The same thing happens in Sigmar, though, doesn't it? Is that has the potential for it to happen?
Yeah, that's fair.
Based on the battle. Go on.
Sorry, go on. No, you're okay. You go.
I was going to say, Rory Grant's based on the battle cannon rules today. What do you think the Vindicator Demolisher cannon will look like? So we'll get on to that now, actually. So we've looked at Twin Linked. The next bit we'll go on to, which is Combi Weapons. And Combi Weapons, I think, are going to be a huge part of 8th edition now. In the past, you had a one-shot chance to, fire your special part of the weapon to maybe destroy a tank or a couple of tanks. Now you've got the option of shooting your melter gun and your bolt gun every single turn. And the disadvantage is you've got -1 to hit modifier on that weapon, which when you're already hitting on 3s and potentially 2s or 3s with rerolls, the -1 hit modifier is going to be nothing compared to what you can destroy with a melter gun every single turn. So I think Stern Guard especially are going to be all over Space Marine armies now with combi weapons chucked on every single potential model, and every sergeant of a squad I think is going to have a combi weapon now.
Well, one thing to think about with that is now combi flamers, I think a lot of people will be moving over to. Although you can now, because if you can split fire your shots, even if you've got a combi melter, I guess you could fire the melter shot into one and the bolter shots into another. But if you can fire the flamer, it doesn't even care that you've got -1 to hit because it auto hits. So all you're doing is you're getting some free bolter shots on top at -1, and you can do that every single turn now. That seems amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this is where me and you, Pink, were speaking about it earlier with the combi flamers. Is because the flamers don't roll to hit anyway. You'll just roll and see how many hits you'll get. Isn't it D6 or something like that for flamers now? Will that be reduced?
It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Like they might say that if you fire a combi weapon with a flamer, it's -1 hit, say, or something like that. Maybe.
G Steeler
yeah,
it's joined.
Interesting, that, isn't it? Just having a quick look at the the idea of the combi weapon, the combi melter. I hated combi weapons in 7th edition simply because of that one-shot wonder, and I guarantee any time anybody needed to use that special weapon, that's the time you'd always roll and miss. You just wouldn't hit with it. And it just felt like it was such a waste having that one-shot opportunity during a game that rarely transpired. Just didn't seem to come through when you really needed it. So the fact it's there all the time now, I think is great. Also, I think it makes it kind of a bit crazy. I like the idea of these. I hope people don't spam them, and maybe they'll make them expensive to have, because that's what we've not seen. Of course, we've not seen the points of any of this yet. So maybe the fact you can shoot both of them will be reflected in the points. But I do like the idea. I like what they've done.
Yeah, I didn't think about the cost, because I instantly assumed, like Age of Sigmar, you don't pay for upgrades. I mean, if you want to play that narrative play with me, Phil, I will have combi melters and combi flavors there every single, and it'll be really fluffy, because that's the filth I want to bring. So you need these limits for people like me. What else have we got then? So explosives, they've been changed. So rather than having your templates now, we see that the battle cannon on a Lehman Russ has a 72-inch range, which I think was what it had before, and it has heavy D6 attacks, which can be insane when you couple that with the strength 8, the -2 AP, and the D3 damage. You've got a huge potential for damage there from a tank. I actually prefer them going to this rather than faffing with templates and having to not necessarily argue about where the template lands, but being a lot faster, where you just shoot at a unit, you roll your dice, and then you roll the damage. You don't have to have a little discussion about how many hits are underneath a template. You roll a dice. I think it's going to speed up the game, and I think it's going to work perfectly. But what do you think? Anyone?
Well, this is one of the things where we looked at it. They said the average game before was 3 hours, and now it's down to, what was it, 90 minutes?
Yeah.
And we were thinking, well, what are they going to do to better drop it down that much? And this is going to be one of those things. It saves you having to walk around to the opposite side of the table just to try and get a template down, and then have that 5-minute argument of, or that guy's under the template. And just rolling that straight up dice, and that's how many hits it's going to take. It's just going to save so much time and a lot easier to do as well.
I mean, how many people have had that thing where you get the scatter dice and then you try and draw out a line, place it over the scatter dice, and then try and move it towards the units and stuff like that? All that's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. That was the thing with the scatter dice. The angle, when you were trying to measure from the angle and keep an angle, the angle would change by the time you've got to the where the template's meant to have gone down.
Yeah.
Every single time.
And if you played against certain people like Dave, it would have switched dramatically to a completely different angle towards a unit that you really didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
And Dave would be like, no, it's definitely gone this way. I could guarantee that's the line. And you get a ruler out or a tape measure, and he would you could see him bending the tape measure around so to make it angle right. No more of that.
Jack was really worried when templates were going because he plays guard and he loves his templates, and and it rarely scattered back on him because obviously most of the time he shot these things he was 48 inches away, so he wasn't too concerned. And in fact, scatter sometimes worked out really well for him, so he was quite worried to see the loss of templates. But we did a little bit of math hammer to try and work out what would it mean, saying, okay, so you roll a d6 and you might average about 3 dice. And let's assume it's a heavy weapon. So let's assume you've moved to your -1 to hit now. So you're probably needing 4s, maybe 5s to hit. So you're going to get 1 hit in, possibly, on average. But that hit is going to do 2 damage at strength 8 minus AP 2. So the average is not that great. But the average is, at least I think, probably better than most scatters. Because most of the time it's scattered, you hit nothing at all. And then the potential's brilliant. You get 6 shots off and you hit with 4 of those and then do D3 damage off all of those. You can be doing some serious harm to units and to vehicles. So, and I think that's the other thing is targeting single models with blast was always a pain, wasn't it? Because you were guaranteed to just leave it behind. So that's an option now, at least, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do we know if wounds overspill in this edition yet? So say if I shoot a guy with 1 wound, like an army, and they've all got 1 wound each, and I do D3 damage, does that mean that I'm rolling to kill D3 models? Or if that one guy's only got 1 wound, do I just lose potentially the other ones that I've just rolled? So it doesn't matter. Don't know if we heard anything on that.
I think it should spill over.
Well, it does in Age of Sigmar, but I don't think we've seen anything like that so far.
No,
this one.
That'll be a good one to look out for. I think spilling over it makes the most sense. Oh, they've said wounds don't spill over. Apparently, Ryan Cunningham says. Okay, that's interesting. Then so maybe it's not as powerful as I first thought. Then.
Well, you got to be more tactical about what you shoot. Then, don't you?
Yeah, but the other thing is, so you say you get heavy D6, you manage to hit 4 of those. You're gonna have to roll those individually, aren't you? Say something's got 2 wounds, you're going to have to slow down the game if that's the case. If you're not... that seems to slow it down, which is what they said it wasn't going to... Oh, you lose the excess damage. There, so that seems like it's slowing it down for me. So you're going to have to roll a dice. That guy... Like, say you're shooting at a Terminator with 2 wounds. You roll the first hit, you do 1 damage. So that's your first shot gone out the way. Then you roll your second dice to see how much damage that does. And that does 2 again. So you go, okay, that Terminator on 1 wound now is dead, and that 1 wound extra has been lost. Then you roll the third one, and you've got to do it 1 by 1. That just seems to slow it down. But if that's the way they've done it, I would think with the battle cannon, it's D6. So
I take it, who's the one who can allocate that damage? So, like, if you've got a pool of dice, some say 1, some say 3. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to put both of those on my 1 Terminator, rather than having 1 Terminator die and 1 go down to 1 wound.
Yeah.
So then it would become like you'd really have to almost map it out. What's the best way? Where do you lose the least amount of models?
So that's the one thing where I've not been too sure of. I like the Age of Sigmar. You do all of your attacks, you do all your damage, and then the enemy allocates where they want them to go. That kind of speeds up the game massively, but we'll have to see how it actually plays. We've got some more chat up here actually, which I've not gone over.
Do you guys know? Sorry, do you guys know how the second D3 is going to work then? So say it's heavy 6 and I roll a 4. So I'll roll 4 dice to hit, yeah? And let's say, for the sake of argument, I hit with 2. do I roll 2d3 or do I roll a d3 and then times it by 2?
2d3.
Yeah, it's normally 2 individual dice.
And have I hit 2 individual guys who are both going to suffer from d3, or have I hit a unit that's going to suffer from 2d3 damage?
That's what we're saying.
Well,
you do it individually.
If the wounds don't overspill, then what you'd probably have to logically do is roll them one at a time, because what it'll probably do is follow Age of Sigmar, where once you've started wounding one guy, he has to keep taking wounds until he dies. But then if it means you're rolling d3 against someone with, say, 2 wounds, if you roll a 1, now you need to roll the second dice individually, and you need to keep rolling it like that.
Yeah, I get that.
And
what's
that's going to
the battle
start
cannons? What, in your opinion, what's the battle cannon's role on the battlefield? Is it anti-infantry, or was it about blasting big things out of the way?
I thought it was making craters in anything.
It was strength 8 AP3,
Yeah.
so it was a really good marine killer before, but it could take on sort of light armor as well. And now I think you'll see it more aimed towards transports and stuff like that, because then you're probably not going to get this overspill.
I suppose that's where I'm leading to, Mike. I'm thinking, with like the Eldar, and I can't. Is it the? It's not the fire prism, but the alternative make of it, the Weaver, the Doom Weaver, or something like that. It was called. That's aimed at anti-troop. So are we going to see things like the Militarum ones and the Eldar tank being anti-troop? So we might see heavy 2d6 but 1 damage, or something like that, or heavy 3d6 and 1 damage.
See, I never really used it. I think the only Eldar vehicles I ever really used was the Wave Serpent and the Fire Prism, so I'd never really used the others.
Okay. We're just going to go through the chat then. So we've got Adrian, what's he talking about? Rachel. Oh, Auric Love God says Rachel will have that down to 54 minutes. I imagine that's the 90-minute now current game, but only against Sam. 90 minutes will be discussion. No one tell her I said that. There you go, we said it. Rachel speeds the game, slows the game down 3 times at least. So if anyone's going to be playing a game slowly, it's Rachel. If she goes to a tournament and she's aiming to play 3 games in a day, she'll play 1. But she'll win that game. And then Adrian says, I bet she is watching again. She's not. She is in Poland this week, so she's not back until Friday. What else have we got?
Sorry, just interrupt a second. Tedious Payload just had a really interesting point. I think he said, do you actually really want Wraith Cannon's wounds to be spilling over between models? So if it does like D10 damage, you want that to be hitting a set of gaunts and killing 10 of them. It's a good point.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. If wounds don't roll over, then what they're doing with those stats is changing the definition of what you use that weapon for. So we're not only going to have to learn new rules, we are going to have to realize the role on the battlefield may have changed. The battle cannon reads to me something to punch out, middleweight sort of, well, maybe heavyweight single creatures, or single vehicles, rather than now about taking a unit out.
And you've got to use the right weapon. Timothy Stansbury has just been saying, I think it's good that it forces you to use the right weapon for the right target. And
maybe all those people who are concerned about getting shot, I'm thinking of you, Frost and Fist. Maybe this is the thing. There are going to be far more limitations on what a weapon is useful against by the nature of their stats.
Yep. Depends on the amount of shots you get with a specific weapon. Surely battle cannon is now better than before at a single target. I think so, yeah. If that's the way it's working, I would definitely shoot it at tanks rather than an infantry unit. If I'm shooting at a Cadian infantry squad, I'm not going to waste a battle cannon on it anymore just to kill maybe 6 Cadians. That's a complete waste of shots. So you're going to have to think. Actually, the more I think about it, I think that's better. Poland for what and where? She's at work, or she's working, and I don't know where. Somewhere in Poland. Don't track her.
Barely know she's in Poland. That's what I like about you.
She's in Poland for a week. That's as much information as I've got. And I can't believe no one mentioned how lovely the weather is in the UK. Yes, it's been extremely nice today, and I've been sat indoors editing videos. It's been so bad. Right, that's weapons. Let's go on to the next 40k thing, which was characters. Characters and Death Stars, which is such a huge... There's been a big uproar of this all over. Positives, negatives, crying, cheering. I'm on the cheering side of things because I like the idea of having your characters outside of units. I think we're going to see stuff like Gilliman in the centre of a unit of... or maybe 2 or 3 units of Marines just because he can't get hit. And we've also seen something about snipers now being able to pick out characters. What happened, Phil? What's happened to characters?
Well, interestingly enough, this is one of those posts where there was almost more narrative than there was rules, so they chatted kind of a bit, I suppose, about what was their thinking. So yes, their thinking was to see the end of the add prefix star. So no more Farseer stars and all Death Stars and all the rest that we've seen. All it simply was, I think, from a rule point of view, was you can't target a character unless it has more than 10 wounds. I'll find that somewhere amongst all of this narrative.
Yeah. Or
so
it's the
10
closest.
or more, I think, wasn't it? So, and if they are less than, they can't be targeted unless it's the closest model to the shooting unit. So that did mean, and the example they gave, of course, if Magnus is wandering around at the back of an army, towering 30 foot above them, then sure, fill your boots, take him out. But if Rabute is wandering around amongst his new crack Marines, then you're going to find it hard to pick him off because he's 9 wounds.
And it's interesting, Tedious Payload said again, I think we'll still get HQ units. They'll just lose independent character status, Archon and Bodyguards, Ashton Militarum, Command, etc. It'd be interesting to see how they do stuff, because in theory you're probably better off having an Ashton Militarum officer as an independent character rather than having a command squad, because you could surround him with a conscript unit or a couple of conscript units if you wanted him to survive. A command squad isn't really as much survivability as a conscript blob, I don't think. I don't know, I think we're going to see a change from Death Stars. If it removes that from the game, it can only be a good thing in my eyes. I know there was some people... there was a couple of posts on Facebook and all over the internet saying that Games Workshop have basically created the Death Stars in the way that the rules have been written, and I think they've properly looked at this long and hard this time to try and find a way that balances it and doesn't run into the same issues as it's had in the past. So at least they've looked to the future and thought of a way around it.
Yeah, I think that they've done a lot of play testing on it, which is what makes me hopeful. Otherwise, I think that there's going to be a real sweet spot with your character having 10 wounds and being able to hide amongst your army. Because when they're saying stuff like a las cannon does d6 damage, I sort of wonder, well, if I've got Magnus, he might have a good invuln save, he might have a lot of wounds, but he's not got that many more wounds than Gulliman. And if every las cannon I can shoot at him and I can pick him out individually does d6 damage, he could easily go down to one team of las cannons in one turn, depending on how you roll your saves. Whereas Gilliman, you've literally got to kill every single model around him before you can even start to shoot him. So he just seems way more survivable to me. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, it's going to be a lot on positioning now, isn't it? Is it how much are you willing to surround that hero? If you're playing 1,000 points, how many units is it going to take to really have it that he's surrounded enough to not get the shot on him? So you may find now, like when people are keeping him at the back of, say, 3 units moving forward, it then will be down to other armies. Say, take Eldar, for instance, we can move fast. It's tactically, it's them trying to then get around the sides to get into the back. So it's going to be a lot of playing around as to where you'll keep them, their hero, and then how you'll deal with it to shoot it. It's going to be a lot of moving around, which I tactically I quite like it.
That's a really good point. That's quite interesting. Certain armies, though, like you think, traditionally AdMech doesn't have transports, doesn't have anything really that can do that. So it's gonna mix up, I think, whether or not a gunline army is really a good idea anymore.
And I think transports will be a big key thing. The Iceny chief said, stick your command squads or platoon command squads in chimeras for added protection, no need for the conscript units. And I think the way that I've always seen it in the past is chimeras and transports in general were so easy to just pop on the first turn that your command squads inside them were quite vulnerable anyway. So that's the reasoning I was thinking around it. But they've said they're not going to, you're not going to be able to destroy stuff in one turn unless you focus everything at it. So if someone's focusing everything at a chimera, then you've got the rest of your army doing stuff. So I think transports are going to be definitely something we're going to see. And I think you're going to have to take the weapons that can deal with infantry as well as tanks, as well as bigger monsters. I think you can't just, even though everything wounds everything, I think you need something to destroy the blobs of infantry that are hiding characters. You're going to need some weapons to destroy their their tanks or their transports, and you're going to need stuff to destroy monsters and bigger things that fly around the board. So you're going to have to create a balanced army list in order to do everything, which I think is going to be good.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's going to be a lot more all-round list. So you're going to see a lot more units that you wouldn't see before for doing different jobs.
The question is as well is how many characters are we going to get? What constitutes as a character? So, Mike, I'm thinking of you again with Eldar. We've got Dire Avengers. Does the Exarch become like a unit in Age of Sigmar where it's like they get one extra attack, but the same baseline stats? Or, so you see that in Sylvaneth.
Because Marines are the same with the sergeants in the units then as well. So my guess is it probably will just be like Sigmar when they'll get that extra attack.
Yeah. So we might lose something there, we don't know. Or if you add that, they may gain something extra, like a special rule, maybe. Yeah. But then also, they do offer something of use, I think, probably for the, the fighty armies out there, that characters also gain heroic intervention. So this allows a character nearer combat to pile in and attack if the enemy comes close enough, even if they themselves aren't charged. So you can sit that character amongst 2 or 3 units, and you charge one of those units, and the character can make the choice of going, I think I'm going to wade in there and help out, which I have to say is probably my favourite part of this leak. The idea of the commanders at the back who are brilliant in close combat, seeing where they are needed to help and piling into that combat to help out. I just think that, I mean, who wouldn't want to be a Space Wolf player in that? Who wouldn't want to have, Phoenix Warriors?
What was the Dark Eldar woman? The assassin, what was her name?
Lilith Hesperex.
Hesperex, yeah. Having her at the back of a bunch of witches, and they just like pile in from a raider or something, and then having her just jump in and assassinate everything. I think that sort of thematic game or narrative gameplay would be such an awesome thing to play.
And that piling move, we don't know what that is. It might be, I doubt it's going to be 3 inches, because that'll be useless. You'd have to be at the front anyway and be in risk. It might be 12 inches, it might be 6, it might be 12.
Timothy's put an orc player.
It'd be
as well.
Brilliant though.
Gazgul wading through all of his orcs, just trampling on them just to pick up a Space Marine. I think that's probably the best visual update that they've done for me. Just having characters bound in and kill stuff. And again, it would be great with Bjorn the Fell-Handed. I think every single person in this chat can name a character or some sort of leader which it would look awesome with, just bounding in and taking the fight. And it's not even just Space Marines, it's everything. I think every army's got something. Tyranids, you've got the Swarm Lord. He's going to be an absolute beast.
The other thing we haven't considered as well is if it moves to the Age of Sigmar model, which it's clear they are doing that, the characters will boon units within a certain radius. So it's not just about fighty characters. It could be about shooty characters that are improving the ballistic skill of anybody within 6 inch, because they're just giving guiding words over their shoulder, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we've talked a lot about that's the 8th edition updates. Everyone's now saying their characters. You got Fugan, Scarbrand, Gabriel Seth, along with Bjorn. Let's go on to the next bit. Jarek. Yes, Jarek is another good one.
Right, I'm trying to think of the worst character now, like the most pathetic character that you could see wading in. I'm sure someone could come up with something.
Old One Eye is far from pathetic. That would be amazing. Just Old One Eye wading in.
I am trying to think. What was his name? The Catachan. I used to love that Catachan model. Slambo? It's not Slambo.
Sly
Marbo. Such a beast.
They've done a new model for him. Have you seen?
No?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
I thought that was a conversion.
Like no, last model of 7th edition.
No, that was a conversion.
Oh, I feel cheated. I feel cheated if that's the case.
I was seriously thinking of starting Katachan. If I'm doing guard, I'll be starting with Katachan. What's the matter, Phil?
Have you seen James Westwood's comment?
Oh, an ethereal.
Going, excuse me, pardon me, sorry.
That's it. He's won. That's amazing. I love that.
Well done, James. You won that one. The lowliest fish in combat.
Just
Right,
a slap fight.
let's get on to some topics. So if you're not already on the Facebook group, head on over to Facebook, type in Wargamer Online space community and join the group. And we ask for topics, questions on there. You can also do it through the website, actually. We've got a whole form where you can send us topics and questions as well. So whichever way is best for you. We've got a few here. We're going to try and get through as many as we can before the end of this show. But these are asked by people in those groups. So let's start with a negative and then we'll go up to positives. So this is from Tom Wilson and he asked, what product change has GW messed up the most? Start with Mike.
I couldn't think of one when you asked me about this earlier. I couldn't really think of one.
There you go.
Go for everyone else and come back to me because there might be something.
Okay, Pink.
You're going to hate me because I was going to steal your one.
All right, I'll go through mine first. So my only one that I've got a gripe with, sorry Pink, you're going to have to be quiet now, is...
No, I've got another one. I've got another one. It's okay.
Say it. What is it, Pink?
Okay, so my one is that they made a Grelin Earth and then they made a Grelin Badlands. And I didn't realise that those were different things. And so I bought it and I made up loads of bases, left them to dry overnight, and then realised it wasn't the same product. It's my fault for not reading, but why would you both call them a Grelin? You could have come up with anything else.
It's probably because they're the same colour, but they're different textures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one's like really rocky. Did you not just read the label?
No, I picked up something that looked the right colour and said a Grelin on it.
Okay, so that's not GW's problem. that's your problem. Phil, what's yours?
I'm going to apologise for the
what?
The lack of heavy weapons in the recent box set of Caradon Overlord. There you go. I can't even remember the name of the unit. I want to say Thunderers, but that's because I think. Yes, there you go then. So I think we should have had 3 of each heavy weapon and not 1 of each heavy weapon in the whatever they're called, not the Thunderers, the other unit.
That's
and
fair enough.
By the way, mine's the same as yours, Sam, but I just thought of something else. I didn't steal it.
So we've all pretty much had the same issue here, and that's the change of super glue. So going to the little, whatever they are. I bought them, and I've used like 2 of them. These little tiny things that just don't hold much super glue, and they're effectively like 1 or 2 use. Absolutely horrendous. And I don't normally say bad things about Games Workshop, but that super glue is the worst thing I can think of. And I've switched now to Gorilla super glue because Gorilla super glue is great.
Someone's put Finecast in the chat. That's going to be a popular one.
I was going to say, Mike, if you're still struggling for one. Yeah,
I'm still struggling.
I was going to say, if Mike's still struggling for one, check out the chat.
Didn't you say Finecast, Mike?
Finecast. You're just going to win then.
The tweezers.
Did I say Finecast?
Why is... So Craig's putting the tweezers. What was wrong with the tweezers? How can tweezers be an issue? Surely they either pick up stuff or they don't. If it's the price, then we're not on about price. We're on about products that have been kind of messed up. New drill is rubbish. Which one? Because I've got this brownie one, and that seems all right. Apart from I always break the drill bits. Right, so the other one is Finecast.
Why didn't anybody say Finecast then? Why didn't anybody say Finecast on our group?
I've had issues with it when it first came out, and after that, the more they've been doing Finecast, the better it's got. I know it's not as good as Forge World resin and other resin that's available from different companies now, but it's not the end of the world. It's not like I'm going to burn my model. Originally, when it first came out, it wasn't tested and it wasn't checked, and it was horrendous. And since then, they've got fine with it. To be honest, there's still a lot of flash on it, but that's about it.
I don't think I've ever had an issue with Finecast model. I think mine have always been all right.
Yeah. I only had with some of it was the old sculpts, so it was where they turned lead models into Finecast. They're the ones I tended to have issue with, but the ones that were designed afterwards with Finecast in mind always seem to be fine. But I know that people's experience is very different out there. But Mike, have you tried Howling Banshees in Finecast? Because it's an education.
I have got some, and they are. Well, I say I haven't had any issues. There's a few bends and stuff and that. I have had issues with it. Yeah.
I'm just going to read out this as well. I'm going to read out the Tweezer blurb or something because Cragham's put the blurb about them is bad. So I'm reading it. Some of our models feature some rather small components which can prove tricky to glue into place by hand. Citadel Tweezers are the perfect solution. Featuring an all-metal construction and designed with a wide, flat 3mm contact point, they help you get to grip small components and hold them firmly in place for the few seconds needed for the glue to take hold. What is wrong with that? That is pretty much you can hold your model in place while it dries. I don't see an issue with that.
That's amazing.
Well done, GW. Right, let's keep going. Tedious payload. I remember old superglue pots were bad. My friend stuck his tongue to the roof of his mouth when he opened one that had sealed itself. I think that's dangerous, opening glue with your mouth. And Katie
with Katie
Hunter...
on. Yeah, I'm with you on this, Katie. I've seen the Grombrindle on the sprue, and his entire mouth and beard is a separate piece that inserts in to a hole. And the first thing I thought was, how's that going to fit? But I've not tried it yet. It's still on sprue.
So is that the model you've got in front of you? That's Finecast as well, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the what was the woman, the Sister of Battle that I got? Canoness? The Viridian, yes. I think her name was. She's Finecast as well. And there's a bit of a rough section on the blade, but other than that, it's not too bad. Mythos, I left my box of models out in the car, and the Texas heat melted the Finecast hammer off my Arjack. Rest in peace, Arjack. Ooh. Okay, there are issues with it, but I don't think there's too many that GW can worry about. Let's go on to the next topic. So this is from Shawn Dewitt. Have any of you ever entered Armies on Parade? No. Well, I have, but only last year, and that was a last minute, 3 days before Armies on Parade, I decided to do it. So there wasn't much thought gone into it, and in future I think a lot of planning would be a good way to go. What about you, Pink?
Where did you finish?
Oh yeah, but yeah,
where did you come in?
I got gold.
Where did you come in the competition?
But that was mainly because the orcs are painted nicely. The board itself was such a quick job that.
Wait, have we just moved on to the Bully Sam section?
Yeah, we've moved on to the Bully Sam section. Okay, Pink, have
you were being very.
I'm trying not to get bullied. I'm moving on. Pink.
No, I should do. I want to do one for this year. I've already got an idea about a sort of an AdMech hangar with all like cranes and stuff, and in the middle of it would just be like a single Knight Titan. And I want to work on something like that, but it's always about finding time to do it, and especially if you're not too sure about what you can do with your main army, you're sort of wondering, do I really want to spend all that time and effort on something that isn't something that you primarily play?
Well,
I know. What do you other guys?
We know how you win stuff, don't you? You cover it in Ghosts. So I think a graveyard. You have a bunch of spirits rising up around the night, and I think you'll be fine.
I'll take that into consideration.
But no, it's definitely something that's worth doing. I think just to encourage you to get stuff painted. The problem I find with Armies on Parade is that it comes around so quick. As soon as Armies on Parade comes around, you go, right, next year I'm going to plan it out and I'm going to do something really cool and I'm going to spend time on it. And then you forget about it for about 9 months. And then you go, oh, Armies on Parade. Like this is literally just reminding me that it's coming up soon, and there's no way I'm going to have time to think of anything properly. And
When is it?
doing the rest.
When actually is it?
It's like September time, but by the time I've done all the editing
Oh,
videos,
I think it's been October the past couple of years, I think, hasn't it?
no,
Okay, so that's still some time.
it's better than 3 days, I suppose. What are you doing, Phil?
I was I was thinking I might do an army on parade this year. I was thinking of doing like a Night Titan hangar, but I was going to do like screens and LEDs and a laser effect or something like that as well.
This is what Pink's just said, but you're just going to cover it in LEDs. This is why you don't talk about your ideas, Pink. Just don't do it. Say that.
I don't Google them either. If you Google them, you know someone's done it.
I don't do armies on parade because I don't like a lot of my work, as you guys know. I always kind of like, I have a low level of satisfaction with them. And then at the same time, I don't like the idea of turning it into a competition. I don't like going up against my mates. And obviously when you enter Army on Parade, you're kind of in the store with all your mates. And I'd just steal Pink's idea and put Mike's models on it and then and then use Sam's name badge.
Okay.
He just means he doesn't want to break our hearts by like doing it in the night and beating us all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
None of us will enter this year. Don't worry, Phil. You can go and enter and you can win it.
Can we talk about Dark Eldar for an entire chat one time?
If we've got enough questions on Dark Eldar, yeah. So use the website, go to the form that says Ask WGO and give us enough questions to talk about Dark Eldar and we can do a whole show on it, Dark Elf Dave. Don't you worry.
I want to do Dark Eldar for 8th edition.
No, stop talking, Phil, because you've bagged every other army and Dark Eldar was on the lineup. You're not having that one as well. You've got Gene Stealer Cult, you've got Tau.
Not having Dark Eldar.
What was the other one? Dark Angels.
Okay.
I'm sure there was another one as well. There's at least 3 or 4
Gene
armies
Stealer
that you've bagged. Yeah, you went, no, you can't do them, I've got that. And I go, well, maybe Dark Eldar. And you went, Eldar are mine and Dark Eldar are Eldar, so they're technically mine as well. Fine. They're gone as well. Okay, Rachel will do an army on parade before Phil. Not a chance. Not a chance. When Rachel does an armies on parade board, it means Phil and me will do an armies on parade board for her. Okay, next question. So this one is... actually, I don't know who this is from. We'll leave that one. Let's just go on to... This might be the last one, depending on what everybody wants in the chat, but it might be the last one because we've come up to an hour. So, how do you store your armies? This is the best question ever.
No.
Let's start with Pink.
Okay, so at home I've kind of just got cupboards where I throw everything, and if I'm just going over to Phil's, I just take one of the drawers out of the cupboard and literally just put it in the car. And that works absolutely fine. I do have a couple of the proper GW cases, and they're all right. But if you're taking any sort of large game, I find that I really struggle to put stuff in. And if you've got something like Scarbrand, he's just too big and too fiddly. He'll take up like half of the case by himself.
Mm.
I don't know if you found that at all, but then like you do it slightly differently, don't you, Sam?
Yeah. So the best way by far, or the most satisfying way, is for me buying KR cases. And I actually enjoy looking through the website and planning out how I'm going to fit everything into a KR case. And then I order it and then I sit and wait because the delivery always says like it's going to be there in 2 days or 3 days, and it's not. It's always a week. Even if you pay extra, it always takes a week. I think there's only one delivery time and that's a week. Shawn from Blue Table Painting has just sent me a message saying, is the show about to start? Yeah. Shawn, the show started, it's about to end. This is the problem with American and UK time zones. It's just so messed up. Anyway, what was I saying? KR cases are the best. They're fairly cheap as well. Like you can buy cardboard cases for about £30 or £32. And yeah, if you can fit a whole...
Can I just interrupt and say, can everybody put up their favourite army transport? Because we've had some good ones already, and I think we should come back to it. But anybody on the chat, tell us how you're transporting your army.
Yeah, we've heard enough about me talking about KR cases, but...
Well, you've spent more on KR cases than you have on GW, to be fair. So...
Yeah. but it's fine.
There's a whole bunch of things going off with Sam and KR cases. Like, he won't obviously build an army unless it fits in a case, and then he won't start building it unless the case is ready for it to go in. And he certainly won't paint an army until the case is ready for it to go in. And I love how you've got to have everything set up. So you're like, I've got the case, now I build the models, and I paint the models, and I put them in the case. And I love that. I love that. That's going off. And you just said to me earlier tonight, the reason I was laughing is because you just said, I can't even remember what army you were talking about. You went, I can start the army because the case has arrived. Oh, it was the, what is it, the board game, the Silver Tower. So now you can paint Silver Tower. Now the KR case has arrived.
All my Warhammer Quest. I bought a KR case just to put Warhammer Quest in. I've got a case for all the custodians that we've got. There's a case for a White Scar army. I don't know whether it's 40 or 30k yet. And I've got another case for Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum. And that's like all of the ones that have been planned out. And I think I've still got 2 cases in the wardrobe that are empty. They've just got foam, which I need to switch around. But that's just another OCD bit that I enjoy doing. So KR is amazing. I've not tried Battle Foam. I've not tried any of the others just because the only thing I actually want to get, and I'm really desperate to get, is a big aluminium case to put the KR cases into. So when I go to tournaments or travel, like even if I'm just going to Phil's, the satisfaction of putting 4 cardboard KR cases into an aluminium box and just taking it to Phil's, that will keep me happy for at least a day every single time. So, Phil,
why did Mike say, oh no, anyway? Mike, tell us about your army transport.
Oh, you don't want to hear, right? Right. Well, I freak out with using any of the normal cases. I haven't tried KR cases yet, which that's something Sam was telling me I need to do. But with the GW cases, I always found with a lot of my armies, there'd be thin bits that stick out here and there that they would just get snapped off constantly. So I stopped using cases, and now I tend to wrap my models, and then they will go in a toolbox because I feel they're safer that way rather than having them in a normal case. As bad as that sounds.
It hurts just to listen to.
It's because I'm scared. I always seem to pick models where it's like, yeah, that's going to snap. This is safer.
Tedious Payload says shoebox and bomb roll. I just love bomb roll. I don't know why, it's really tickled me.
I don't like it when people wrap toilet roll and kitchen roll around models because you always get fine little bits of like tissue paper or kitchen paper on the models. And that just hurts even more. Like, why can't people... I mean, this hobby it's not expensive, but it's not cheap. You know, if you're going to spend money on building, painting, the time you've got to do doing these models, just buy a case and put it in it and keep it nice. Either that or just don't paint your models. Just spray them and put them in a bog roll case. Oh,
there's nothing wrong with shoebox and bomb roll. Should we go through the list? Is everybody...
Go on, go through the list,
what? Everybody's seen my KR case collection because they're on the background of a lot of the battle reports, aren't they? So
yeah,
I'm a KR case guy, except for my Sylvaneth, which went into the new Games Workshop cases. And I actually think that worked really well because I got my entire 3,000 points of Sylvaneth in one case. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with how that does. I do like to customize my foams. That's the only thing I'd add to Sam. I like to not only get custom foams, but then I start customizing, so they're just perfect. We've got a whole bunch of things. IKEA.
OCD. Shawn saying we've hit a nerve here. Yeah, it's fine. I don't want to listen to how people put stuff in their armies. Actually, I might go off for 5 minutes.
Ralph bought a couple of IKEA units for storage at home. Definitely, if you're talking about the glass cabinets, they're really cool. But I suppose we're also talking about for transport as well. There is a shelf by IKEA that you can fit the KL cases into. So don't tell Sam about that. 3 shoe boxes and 1 GW case. Big Mac boxes from Liam. I like that. You've got plenty of those, haven't you, Liam? We know you have. So that's all right. Battle foam. We did have a look at those down at Salute, didn't we? Then after that, it's just... Oh, I quite like that one. Homemade case from a first aid case. Yeah. And Nathan, that's Adrian, by the way. Nathan has cut foam to fit the back half of his Subaru Outback. That's a big car, so that's a lot of foam. I like that. Tupperware tubs. I think it's going to have to be bog roll for me. I don't know about you guys.
I like James Westwood. He's had 2 comments that made me chuckle quite a bit tonight. We've had bum roller sounds like it could be an Orc vehicle. Great idea, James, says Adrian. And then Pink's put, I reckon when Sam dies, he'll be buried in a KR case. You could have said that, Pink. You are on the Hangout.
I didn't want to interrupt Phil. He was having a moment.
At least my coffin would be quite cheap, though, wouldn't it, in comparison to a normal coffin? And I'd be happy as long as the foam was cut out perfectly.
I don't know. They're not cheap, and you're not small. So.
Oh, 2 insults in one. Well done, Pink. Maybe stick to the chat.
Johnsonator's just joined us. Hey, Johnsonator.
Crazy Hippos put a really good one. Used a useful box, put a steel sheet in the bottom and magnetised the bases. After a fair bit of reading, it seemed a cheap but effective method. And this is what I was saying to Mike the other day, that would probably be the best option for him. Storage-wise, you could buy one of the big plastic containers that have got the hard plastic and the tough lids, and then just put the metal sheet in the bottom and do it that way. It's the cheapest way. And it's quite easy. I think tournament players especially, they turn up with one tray with everything magnetised, and you can set up very quickly and then pack everything away very quickly and move on to the next game. So magnetised bases is definitely a good way to go.
Yes.
Matchbox, Sanguine Studio. Hey guys, that's a nice name, Sanguine Studio. I like it. Reckon KR would sponsor it. Yeah, if KR are listening, I will be buried in a KR coffin. And
we could do a video and everything. It would be great.
Getting me sized up.
It'd be like the blue foam, because you want the standard blue, because you don't like to go too far. You don't want to go crazy with your coloured foam. So blue foam, cardboard outer, and then one of the metal ones to go around the cardboard outer as well.
We'll hit you with some Purity Seal before you go in the box. James, you're just killing it tonight. I like how this has changed, though, from bullying Sam at the end of the show to just talking about my death and how I'm going to be buried. So thanks, guys. Cheers for bumping that. I
love the idea that actually this would be a great advert for KR, because in like 20 years' time they'll just open the box up again and you'll be perfect. No bits will have snapped off.
We could do that bit where you throw the case out of a moving car window.
Well, drive over it. Reverse a car over it.
Oh dear. Sorry.
Cheers, guys. Jim Wilson's put, how does Shawn transport his minis, etc., to and from his clients? That would be a good question for Shawn at Blue Table Painting. If he watches this back, could you post in the comments, Shawn, how you transport stuff to and from your clients, please, if you don't mind. And then Craig's put, if Sam doesn't fit, do we throw him away? I don't really care. I'll be dead. Makes no difference to me. Just makes me happy before I die that I've got a KR coffin. So I think that's everything for topics this week. We've got a couple more for next. I think Friday will be the next one. If you have any more questions or suggestions for topics for the next shows, go onto the website and suggest them. You can make a free account. There's actually been some new content that went up today, because I was up really early this morning editing some videos from April. I'm going to say April. We went to a local 40k tournament and we just did a few videos on people's army lists and what they took. So there's some nice armies, and they're about 3 minutes long. They're not that long at all. But you just make a free account on the website and you can see all of them. Other than that, thank you to everybody who has joined us in the chat. As always, thank you to everyone who's thumbed up the video now or afterwards if you're watching this back. And thank you to everyone who does go over to the website and set up the premium or the free website. It's absolutely awesome. Thank you to the Beard, Phil, for joining. Thank you to Michelangelo, now that his internet is sorted, for joining us.
Well, you say sorted. You're cutting out now.
Well, thank you for trying. It's been great. Pink, thank you for bullying me.
Always, mate.
And we've got some comments before. We've got kudos for the show and the website. Katie Hunter, good show. Thumbs up, please. Also, max respect, even though I swear sometimes. A lot of people swear, don't worry about it, Katie. We try not to swear because we want to be a family-friendly show, other than the bullying and the talk of death. We try to be quite family-friendly. Sanguine, would you guys be willing to do crossovers with other channels? We've definitely got stuff lined up for other wargaming businesses and YouTube channels on our website. We've got all of that in the pipe work, so we're getting onto that next. And Adrian's talking about wrapping stuff up still. Right, everyone have a great one. We'll see you on Friday, if not before. We're going to chuck out a few videos before then, and have a good time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.